If you would like to have a chance to win this tarot deck, which is called the Motherpeace, subscribe at the $22 category on my website until the end of October, so October 31st. You'll also have a chance to win a second reading, and you will receive a 10-minute reading guaranteed. Check out the description below for details. Hello everyone, and welcome to this month's tarot reading lottery. If you're interested in joining the next one, please check out the description below. That's where I share the details. Without any further ado, we're going to attempt to pick the winner of this reading. I have the magic brush right here with me. And this month's prize is a Halloween reading. So good luck to all of you. And let's see who the winner is. And it's Max. Congratulations, Max. You've been a patron of mine for quite a while, and this is your second time winning, if I'm not mistaken. So this is just a heads up to anyone who wants to join this draw. Sometimes if you are persistent enough, you can win the draw 2 or even 3 times. So congratulations, Max, and let's get to your reading. So, as I've mentioned, we are going to do the Halloween reading for you, Max. And that is a reading type which is designed to reveal and analyze a fear of yours. So if you have a fear in mind that you would like to work with, I recommend that you focus your attention on it while I'm doing the shuffling. If nothing really comes to mind, oh, and we have a jumping card, by the way, the 3 of Cups. So if you have no specific ideas on which fear to target, then the cards are going to do that for you. And I think the 3 of Cups, which is the jumping card, is already hinting at some quality or category of fear that we are going to work with here today. To those of you who are also watching this reading with us, thank you. And if you would like to get your personalized Halloween reading, please visit my website, amaliatarot.com. So, the first card is going to represent the fear that we're talking about. The fear that is perhaps unarticulated, or perhaps it's already on your mind. The fear that needs to be confronted in this reading. Now, the next card will reveal what the influence of that fear is on you, on your behavior. So what's the reaction to this fear? How does it modify your behavior and your way of just existing in this world? All right. And the last card represents the advice. So this is the advice card. So first off, I would like to make a mention of the jumping card. Jumping cards in general are considered to be agents of urgent truths. So whenever there's a jumping card throughout a reading, or multiple jumping cards, it could be interpreted as the tarot really wanting to blurt something out, really wanting to let something be known. Now the Three of Cups, it showed up or jumped out when we were talking about the fear itself. The Three of Cups is a social card. It represents the emotional energy interaction and exchange that happens in social situations. It is the communication that happens on an emotional, a watery level between people, for better or for worse. Sometimes it's an uplifting experience, and some other times it can be a taxing, draining, and somewhat confusing experience. So the fear has to do with protection, self-protection, the ability to self-protect against the energy of others. So let's see what the fear exactly is based on the designated card. And we have death. So that's quite a radical way of saying the basis of this fear. If you had a definite fear in mind that you wanted to work with today, this is the background. This is the basis of that fear. It is essentially a fear of death, a fear of deep, meaningful change and transformation. It's a fear of losing the current form in which you exist. Now, what does that fear do to you? How does that affect your behavior? And we have the Wheel of Fortune showing up. That's quite interesting. So my first thought is gambling. It makes you more inclined to take risks and let yourself go in certain areas and leave it up to fate, whatever that might be. So allowing control to slide, taking destiny over, and basically throwing yourself to the winds of change. That's the reaction that happens. And the advice is the Ace of Swords. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. How do I read and interpret these cards? So we all already have the basis of the jumping card, the Three of Cups, telling me that this fear has to do on some level with showing vulnerability and being seen, being digested by others, or being your energies flowing into other people's energies and getting mixed up. So it's an experience, death in a spiritual sense is an experience of boundaries dissolving. You as the ego being consumed by or being embraced by and thus disappearing from the world. So being disappeared by this bigger entity that we might call life, we might call society, community, other people, whatever it may be. So the bigger context is coming in and it's devouring you, and you're losing that sense of separateness. And that's the fear. Somehow that is where your the center, the core of your fear is the fear of losing the identity that you've built, the fear of losing those limitations, those sort of gates that you have built that ensure your sovereignty. So the fear comes from this, and it makes you somehow more likely to throw whatever level of control you've had or you have to the wind or out the window. I'm essentially interpreting this card as a lack of regard for your own ability to affect your life. Also, it's a lack of confidence in those abilities, and it's essentially saying, if my fate and destiny is the inevitable dissolution of my isolated self, why bother? Why try to steer towards a more controlled position? Why do I even try to modify the conditions of my existence when everything can be taken from me in an instant? So the fear of death at its psychological and spiritual level affects people in basically two ways. Some people become very tight, very uptight, very constrained, very sort of anxious, and other people become kind of laissez-faire and laid back, negligent, even borderline negligent of themselves. And I think you fall into the latter category. The fear is making you want to transcend the powers that you've been given, the powers of free will to control your own life. You're saying, if it doesn't matter what I do, I will surrender. I will give up my free will completely, and I will leave it up to fate. It's essentially an attitude of, I don't care what happens to me, on a deep level. And that can certainly be very liberating, but it can also cause all sorts of issues when you lose sight of what your true goals are, what you really want out of life. It can make you kind of directionless. So, what is the solution? What does the tarot suggest that you do? And the advice is the Ace of Swords. Whatever you're dealing with, whatever your situation is, where the fear of death is creating this reverse psychological effect on you, and it's making you more reckless. And however it ties into your relationship with other people and the fear of enmeshment, the fear of dissolving in social contexts, the tarot is asking you to consider and respect the power of rational analysis. So even though it is, of course, an inevitable fact of life that death is coming, that we're all going to perish at some point, that there's an end, there's a death to everything at some point. This card is asking you to not neglect your intellectual ability and agency to affect change. The Ace of Swords is a portal of new solutions that you can approach, that you can walk through if you allow it to happen. And for that, there needs to be a recognition, an acceptance that you do have power over what happens to you to a certain extent. Without claiming that power, without assuming that position, the insights, the revelations cannot come. But as soon as you say, I do have the ability to influence my life, I do have the ability to find that holy grail, that golden solution that is going to be my winning ticket, that is going to both set me apart from other people, because I think the fear is, on some level, the fear is blending in, being like everybody else, and not having that edge to your personality that makes you unique. So it is both possible to navigate these waters with the ability to preserve some of my uniqueness, while accepting that there is a good chance that it's all going to dissolve, that in certain moments I need to somehow give up and surrender. But in the meantime, whenever I have a chance to affect change, whenever I have a chance to change the outcome, I will try to do that. So that's the advised attitude by the Ace of Swords. So I hope that this made sense to you, Max. If you want, you can leave me some feedback in the form of a comment, or you can also email me. Everybody else, thank you for being with us, and I hope to see you in our next video. Bye-bye.